Good afternoon. This is the last Blender challenge for Game Dev Club in this academic year. So I want to say a huge shout out to everyone who's taken part and well done and thank you. Before we start today's challenge, which is going to be an animated intro scene, I would like to flag this announcement, which is on class charts and it'll be on the video description as well. There's two competitions that are live and running over the summer. So if you're interested in Blender, then this competition is brilliant. Young Animator of the Year Award. You've got until the 3rd of September. Your animation could be about pretty much anything. It could be 2D or 3D or stop motion. And one of the prizes is to go and meet the Aardman Animation Studio. So they're responsible for Wallace and Gromit, as well as some work experience and some great prizes there. This competition, you can make an animation or an app or a game or website or anything. It's basically anything to do with code. Really open-ended project. I'm not saying you have to do these, but if it's a choice of boredom versus creativity, I would choose creativity anytime. So do get stuck in if you've got some time to spare. These are competitions that are coming up next year. I won't go through them in the video, but do read if you are interested. Right, so we need to have some text on here that we're going to turn into an animated intro sequence. Let's get rid of the cube by pressing X, add with Shift A, and add some text. We can go into edit mode, pressing Tab, and put your text in here. So I'm going to do Game Dev Club, and then Tab again to go back into object mode. Doesn't look very 3D-like at the moment when I push the mouse wheel in to look around. So let's change it. We'll click on the A properties thing, the text properties. We can change the geometry to extrude it a little bit to make it 3D. But what I'm interested in is the font tab. So I've asked all of you to get onto font.com and choose a font that you think will work quite nicely. I'm going to go for this one, Airstrike. You don't have to actually install it on the computer, but you do need to extract it. It won't work if it's still inside the zip file. So I'm going to extract it into downloads. And then if you wanted to install it on the computer, so you could open it in Word and PowerPoint and all that kind of gubbins, you can double click and click install. But we don't need to do that to make it work in Blender. So this is in downloads and Airstrike. So on the font tab, where's it gone? The font tab, here we go, the regular, we'll browse. Go to downloads, I think it was in Airstrike, wasn't it? And you can choose which one you think would work best if there are multiple versions. I'm going to go for the solid one here. There you go. So we've got some text. It doesn't look very pretty yet, so we should probably learn how to texture things. We're in solid mode at the moment. I'm going to go to the material. Is that the material one? Yeah, material preview. And then we'll go to the shading tab at the top. Right. When we're in the shading tab, we're going to use nodes. Now, nodes are a really nice way of programming without writing any text. You can use nodes for geometry and for textures and all sorts of other things too. But we're going to do the textures on shading. So with the text selected, we'll press New. Now, you can choose whatever color you want. I'm going to go for a dark green maybe, or even like a metallic something, I don't know. But I'd like something that looks kind of metallic and shiny, but rough. So how do we do that? Well, let's make it grey. Let's make it, zoom in with the mouse wheel, hold down Shift and mouse wheel. What can we change here? We can change the roughness, and we can change the metallicness. But what I really want is a bit of texture on here. And the best way to do this is to pull out something from normal. So if we drag a line out and let go, we can search for a bump. Enter, there it is. And then the height of the bump, I can pull that out and search for noise. And then when the graphics card gets a chance to compile the shader, we've now got a little bit of, it's as though there are extra vertices on here. When the graphics card works out how the light bounces off it, it thinks that there's a noisy texture. So we can change the scale of the noise and the amount of detail and the distortion and the distance and all of that kind of gubbins until you are happy with it. I think that looks like reasonably metallic. I think that will be fine. So I've got my text. I can go back into layout. maybe rotate it around the red line. The red line is X, so RX, twizzle it round like that. Put something on top of it or underneath it. Shift A, let's add a plane. S to scale it. G, X to move it. And I'm going to put this on top of a circuit board. So better find one really. Circuit board. You can choose what you want yours to be on top of. I'll go for a top-down circuit board. That one will do. Doesn't need to be very highly detailed. Oh, it's going to have a watermark on it. Never mind. Save it in pictures as circuit board. Right. When you've got it, how do we put the picture on a 3D object? Well, we do the same kind of thing. Back in shading, this time with the plane selected rather than the text. Let's add some nodes. Rather than a solid color, let's drag out an image texture. We can open the image texture. I think I put it in pictures. Did I call it circuit board? I've got all sorts of weird and wonderful things. Don't judge me. They're all from lessons. Circuit boards. There it is. That'll do. And sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, you can go on UV editing and change how it maps on here. As in, if you select one of the vertices and move it in 3D space, it doesn't change. But if you select one of the vertices in 2D space, mapped onto 3D space, then it will change. As in, you can see here, it's moving where the texture is. Or you can shrink it, or scale it, or do what you want. I'm going to leave it as it was. Right, so back on shading. Again, I think it just looks a bit flat and nasty, so we could do the same kind of thing. We could add a bump map if you want. A bump from normal. We can change the height, pull that out to, oh, I don't know, a different type of noise. There we go. And I think it just adds a little bit of depth, and you can animate that if you wanted. So what do I mean by I can animate that? Well, if we go to layout, we have this timeline along here. And when you press play, nothing moves, nothing happens yet. Anything in Blender can be animated, including the camera. So I'm pressing 0 on the numpad to look through the camera. And then if I select the camera around the edge, shift and back tick, that's the little tick to the left of 1 on your keyboard, allows you to move the camera as though you're in Minecraft, WAS and D, and moving the mouse. So I'm going to get the camera to where I want it to begin with. And you can also press Q and E to go up and down. There we go, I'll start over there. I'll press I to insert. And I'll remember the location and rotation of the camera. I get a blob on the timeline. Maybe if I go along to 100 frames, and it's like 24 frames per second. That's and then shift and back tick, maybe move along to somewhere else. Click I to insert a location and rotation. There we go. Move along the timeline again. Shift back tick. There we go. That's going to be how my camera moves. I insert location. Let's test it. Go back to the beginning, press play, and the camera's moving. So we've animated the camera. Let's animate something else. Let's put some lighting on here. So Shift A, add a light, maybe a spotlight. GZ, move it up. I can't really see any effects from that light because it's really, well, it's not doing anything. It's a 10-watt bulb. If I go for a kilowatt bulb, will I be able to see it? Don't know. If we go rendered mode, we should be able to, but it's still quite dark. 10,000. Is that better? Can we see it on here yet? No. But you can certainly change the colour. There we go. And we can have multiple ones. Shift and D. I'll have a green one. I'll have a red tinted one. Shift D. And a blue tilted one. There we go. And you can rotate them and change the colour. And that's probably as far as I'll go in this video. Let's go back to the beginning. Shift and back sorry, Shift and left goes to the beginning of the animation. If I press I to remember the rotation, move along here, pop your mouse over the 3D part of the screen and press R. Actually pressing R twice is a bit easier to move the lighting. And then insert I rotation, move along over here, R to rotate, and swing it back over here. I to remember the rotation. Right, that's one of these done. This time I'll show you an easier way to animate. This time, rather than bothering by pressing I to insert a keyframe all the time, I'll just record. I'll press the record button down here, and then whenever I make a change, like R to rotate, it's going to automatically put the keyframe in. It's so helpful. So I'll move along here, press R, help, what's going on, escape. Move your mouse away from the center of the screen, that's better. Press R twice, don't really know what I'm doing here. It's automatically put the keyframe in. R twice, yikes, I don't know what I'm doing. There it goes. And I don't think I've done the last spot. Is that this one? Got auto keyframing on. Shift and left to go back to the beginning. R twice. Nice. Move about halfway along. There it goes. Move about all the way that my video is going to do. Right, let's preview it. Let's press play. Doesn't look like the camera's moving because I'm not looking through the camera. So if I press 0 on the numpad and try again, will it work? Kind of. That'll do. The last thing I'll show you is animating properties. So this light here, the spotlight, which one is this? The green one, is going to start green and bright. So I'll go to the beginning of my animation, shift and left arrow, put my mouse over the color and press I, and you can put a keyframe on a property as well. Then when I move along the timeline, I'm going to change it to red. Press I, automatically put it in, I think, because I'm in auto keyframe mode over here. And you can make it brighter or less bright. I'm going to switch it down to 0, and it will remember that it's switched off. And then back over here, you can put it back even brighter than it was, and a different color. And maybe even blend it even more, whatever you like. All of that will be animated in the background. So I think you've got enough now to be able to create your logo. I haven't showed you how to make the text explode or things like that. You can search Geometry Node tutorials for that. The only thing that would be useful is how to render the thing. So if we go to, oh gosh, it's been a while since I've done this. Let's see. Yeah, it's the little printer thing over here. At the moment, it's going to render every frame as a separate PNG. That's not going to be very helpful. If I go for an FFmpeg video under the format, choose where it's going to be saved to. I'm putting it on the temp drive on C because it'll be a bit faster. What type of file do we want? I'm going to go for an MP4. And then in theory, it should have enough now to be able to render all of the frames, but I want to stop at frame 120. So end frame 120. Right, let's set it off rendering and I'll stop the video, or at least pause the video and see what the final thing looks like. Render animation, Control and F11. And will it work? No, it probably won't be able to find this file. But it should work for you at least. Can we at least do one frame, F12? You can render individual frames or hopefully the whole video and export that, splice them all together, and you've got yourself an animated intro sequence. Best I can do in a short amount of time. Looking forward to seeing what you can create. Remember, the competition doesn't have to be an animated intro sequence. You can animate absolutely anything. There's loads of tutorials and advice and examples on the Young Animators competition webpage.